Hello and good evening. Welcome to Deeper States Mind and Wellness. My name is Michael Alvarez, and I'm actually waiting for my call-in to come back in. Hopefully, she can reconnect. I lost her for a minute, and this will be one of the first lives where we actually have interviewed. So hopefully, things go smoothly. Um, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about hypnosis and NLP before she does come on board. I'm going to be introducing you to a former client of mine. Her name is Madeline Bachman, and she came to me before COVID-19. We were working together with water polo. She is a water polo player, and she had come in and we were working on some phobias that she had, as well as working on a little bit of her game, getting her to play and being able to compete with her league in college team and college sport. She was a water polo player and she was doing well. Just had some hiccups that we were working on, and I'm gonna interview with her with that. She also came on board with a little bit of depression and some anxiety, which it's going from living at home to college. That some of that comes in, but I want to talk to you a little bit about hypnosis first. I want to clarify it. So a lot of people sometimes will say, well, hypnosis is mind control, or hypnosis is, you know, you're going to hypnotize you and you're going to completely forget what's happening and you're going to end up like robbing a bank. It doesn't work that way. So hypnosis is really based on the unconscious behavior pattern. It's based on your belief system. So that being said, if a smoker comes in to quit smoking and they really deep inside don't want to quit smoking, we're not going to get them really to move any further than that. Um, the key is that you want to make the changes. And when Maddie came to me, Maddie was prepared to make those changes because she was struggling in her sport, she was struggling in her school academics, and adjusting to the whole new college life. So Maddie came on board with me here in Cerritos, and we worked on a couple live sessions. And then she went to school, and I was working with her on her sessions over in San Diego State University. So in a moment, I'll bring Maddie on board. I'll pull her up in the screen, and hypnosis does awesome things. I am a neurolinguistic programmer, which means neuro meaning the neurological process of how the brain understands something. Linguistic meaning it's language patterns. So it could be visual, it could be auditory, it could be kinesthetic, feel, touch. The P is for programming or deprogramming. So we're programmed in a way that helps us either survive, succeed, or fail. Right? We're programmed since the age of 3 to 7. Sometimes that programming is beautiful programming. Other times that programming goes into effect and it's not good programming. It's giving us bad decisions. It's giving us bad knowledge based on how that MP3 keeps playing, and if it keeps playing and there's one part of it that's damaged, that part of it's always going to come up during the play of an MP3. So when we go into hypnosis, we use that as a modality to get you into that state of relaxation. Then we can go in and we can reprogram that track, and we can get the track to respond differently based on the moral belief system and based on how you're actually operating as a human being on an unconscious level, because the unconscious level really does create a lot of how we respond to everything in life, right? You're afraid to wear a mask, you're afraid to go out, you're afraid to open things up as things open up and as things change. Now that is based on a system that we have learned now with behavior patterns and modifications and understanding and learning. So everything that we do in life is based on a learning experience, good or bad. Hypnosis and NLP just get us in the unconscious mind and get us to be able to have that ability to make those changes. So in a moment, I'll bring Maddie up. I'm going to introduce her, and I know a lot of you will be watching this on the replay. And if you have questions later on the replay, leave them down below. We're an open book. Deeper States Mind and Wellness and my team are still here. We are not going anywhere, and we can answer any of your questions as we move forward through this. Hopefully, some of you can come on to today or tonight live, and we can get some questions going. If you ask a question down below in the feed, I will actually see it pop up, and I will host you into our talk, and then we can go ahead and address a question. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to bring Maddie in here in a moment. Maddie came into me here in this Ritos office, and like I said, I worked with her for quite some time. She worked with me. Oh, give me a second here. Let me pull that up into the feed just so we can get that going in. And then I'm going to pull Maddie up here with me. Hey, Maddie, how are you?
Hello. Good, how are you?
How are you doing over there? I'm good.
Um,
Good. How's
yeah,
it going?
it's good. No complaints here. Just
Good. Very good.
yeah.
So I wanted to kind of give a little background. I've given some background already about how hypnosis works, how NLP works, how it's not mind control. And I know you were in the green room, so you didn't hear a lot of that, right? I think you can't hear the green room, right? Yeah. So I
I was
just went
able
through and
to
I'm sorry.
I did get most of it. The
Oh, okay, perfect, cool. Oh, good. Okay, so awesome. So yes, so I wanted you to kind of tell your story and kind of just talk to people about what you came to Cerritos for. We had one live session, I do recall that. And I remember that we ended up, after that live session, we ended up completely going remote. Um,
hmm
Back when I was doing remote sessions all over the world at the time, I mean, I had athletes pretty much throughout the whole world. I mean, I think my furthest one's been London. Um, we had a client recently in Japan, but that was because she was having trouble wearing her mask because she didn't feel comfortable with it. So I want to get into the part of what hypnosis does and what it actually works with. But tell us a little bit about your story, Maddie. I mean, how'd you come to me? How'd you find out about me? Why'd you come here? And
yeah.
let's talk about the water polo
So
first, because that.
I was in my sophomore year at UCSD water polo. I had finished up our preseason, which goes on during the fall, and I just noticed like my headspace wasn't really where it needed to be for me to be able to perform. Um, like my body felt good, everything else felt good. It was just like my mind holding me back. And then so I knew going into season in January that I really wanted to get my head on straight and feel like I had more control. I had especially a lot of struggling with the swimming and a lot of anxiety around that I didn't know why. So I was able to help understand that more and fix that with the hypnosis. And then I also experienced a little bout of depression and anxiety in the fall as well that I would like try to alleviate and fix and get
I'm
some
going to
help.
bring you back a little bit. I want to bring you back a little bit because we initially started just with water polo.
Yeah.
So with water polo, talk a little bit about what your challenges were. Um, Really with the distance and everything else, kind of give us a little bit, kind of put that together for us, frame that together for us so that we understand a little bit about what was really happening in water polo. What was it that was not happening for you?
Yeah. So obviously swimming is a big part of our training and swim sets were very hard and very difficult. And I would get really worked up for them and I would send myself down like really anxious, not panic attacks, but I would just have to pull myself out and I wouldn't be able to go as hard as I wanted to because I had some deep anxious fear in the back of my head that was holding me back and preventing me from being able to go out and crush it and do as well as I knew I could have done.
And when you came to me, I remember part of it. I remember that you would get really tired during the strokes. When you were in the water for a long time competing hard. I do remember you telling me that it seemed almost like it was like you just weren't going to get through the end of it, and then you're becoming exhausted. Do you remember that?
I was just trying to get through practices, get through games, drills, and not trying to like excel. That wasn't my end goal performance. It was mostly just getting through it and getting through the 2 hours or the 15-minute swim set instead of trying to excel and get better. So
And how did you end up? So we worked together through your sport until COVID-19 hit. But how did
mhm.
things progress with you? Once we added the hypnosis and the NLP, and you may remember some of this, you may not remember some of this, but I remember it because I worked with you. So we had created neurological triggers, and I don't know if you remember the triggers, but we had created these triggers that you would trigger yourself in the water so that when you were actually swimming, you would feel like you had kind of like a better battery. And I don't know if you remember that placement I stuck in your head to remember that your brain and your body were going to work like a battery. Your energy was not going to excel, boom, 100% like that. It's not going to be like a race car that's getting the nitrous oxide, boom, all at that one time and shooting it. It was going to be a very slow trickle. And I think I related you very much to a Tesla, how it charges and it uses a small amount of energy as it moves through. Do you remember that at all? Do you remember that trigger we placed in there? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I'm really good at remembering my clients and what I actually trigger them with, because I have to be, because when I'm working with them, I've had clients come back a year later. I've had Olympic athletes come back to me. They work with me for a long time, and then something changes, or they get injured, and then they have to stop for a little while, and they go back to practice. So I have a really good memory with processes. But being able to slow that down, how did your game change after you worked with that, and we worked with just the water polo? How did your game change? What happened with that?
Once I was in the games and practice, I was able to more just focus on what was actually going on. So all of those other like outside anxieties and triggers that like you're doing this wrong, like that was so bad. Like it was me more just focusing on the game at hand or the practices at hand, and just more like I feel like the manual, like technical parts of what I was doing, rather than all of the psychological, like the anxieties were not there. So I was able just to focus better and perform harder.
Yeah. Good. And how did your stats change as you continued before we were all drawn away? How did your stats change? How were the coaches beginning to relate to you? How were they beginning? Could they see these evolving changes with you?
Yeah, I was definitely in agreement with my coaches that I was on an upward incline before COVID hit and our season was ended. So everything was getting better. Like I just had a better head on my shoulders in the water, and I was doing better in swim sets and practice and scrimmages. So it was unfortunate that it ended, but I was definitely getting way better.
Sure. Good. And now we're going to talk, we're going to evolve that a little bit, because yeah, I mean, it's a lot of unfortunate things have happened. But the thing is that even during that time, which I don't think we had talked about the depression, anxiety at the very beginning. I think that came later, did it not?
I think we touched on it a little, but it was never the main focus.
Like our main focus.
Yeah.
So explain that to them and kind of let them know, let's set that up for them so they understand what happened that kind of led to that depression and anxiety, and what you were feeling and how you were experiencing that.
Yeah, so basically I had just finished my freshman year at school, and I was fully moved away from home and living on my own, working a summer job, and I was living alone in my house because my roommates were gone, which was a really big, weird transition for me. And I think that just spiraled me out of my norms, so triggered the anxious and depressive inside of me thoughts. So I went into the school year starting in a not very good place, and it got better throughout before. So I talked to my doctor, and I was on SSRIs, and that helped a lot. And then I started with you, and you said, you asked about it, and you said, yeah, we can definitely work on that a little.
Sure.
And like a few months in, it was like not an issue for me anymore.
Good. And I'll highlight that a little bit, because a lot of the people that are going to watch this they're going through a different set of depression and anxiety. I mean, they're feeling this stuck moment. And we'll go into that process of you coming home and everything else. Because a typical client that had depression or anxiety in the past, that had experienced it before, would have gone through that again. It's just very typical. Changes tend to do that. And the change was that you were left alone. You went to school all by yourself. Nobody was there. And you had to cope for that time.
Yeah.
And it's a lonely process. But what I find really interesting is that you're a strong lady, and you're a very strong young lady. I mean, you have the ability, even when water polo when you were struggling at it, you knew that you could pull in and get past all that. And that's what helped us a lot in our process as well. I can't make you do something you don't want to do. And hypnosis doesn't do that. Hypnosis reframes what you think you can't do. So we did a lot of reframing. And we went in when we started working with depression and anxiety. The interesting thing is that hypnosis and NLP work a lot with the chemical adjustments that the medication is doing. I love to see clients come to me when they're just first being put on medication, because it's so much easier to work with the mind and get the brain to start generating those chemicals and begin to create a homeopathic, natural, well-balanced system along with the medication. I am a therapist who believes that East has to meet West. If we don't meet in the middle, we lose opportunity, right? I mean, I've had cancer patients come to me that tell me, oh, I have 6 months to live, and we've been able to see them go up to 3-4 years later. My mythology is that we take a bundle of arrows, we throw them all at one time, and we hope to hit the bullseye with one of those, right? It takes one to hit the bullseye and you win. So when I worked with you, the depression and anxiety, a lot of chemical balances are happening when I have you in and I have you deep. So I had to wait for a little while, and as we went through our program, you were on a 20-session program with me. So by the time we hit these 5 and 6, 7-session program, I was able to get you so deep that you're going into almost this kind of waffly, floaty feeling. I'm going to have you explain what that feeling's like so they can kind of understand that. and also, I mean, explain to them a little bit about how it feels, what you recall, what you don't recall, and kind of the process of that. Because some people have never experienced hypnosis. Some people who watch this will be like, well, I think it's hocus pocus. It's kind of crazy shit. And sometimes it can be. I'm not a woo-woo kind of person. I'm very straightforward. And she'll tell you that. I'm not a therapist. I don't bend corners. I believe that if there's something that needs to be said or we need to make a change, I will present it to you and I'll ask you, so how would this work for you if we did this? So give them that understanding so they kind of understand how I worked with you, but also how the actual hypnosis felt and the process of it.
Yeah, so I think what makes the hypnosis so like effective for me was that we talk and we kind of try and get like my thinking patterns, my thought patterns. So when you do put me under, we can try and fix where it needs help. And basically when you go under, it's very relaxed. It's almost like you're getting like a massage or something. Like your head, it's just kind of you and your thoughts. And as you go deeper and deeper, you can kind of start to feel your like brain drift away, kind of your thoughts. And sometimes you'll snap into the room when the session's done and be like, I don't remember anything. And then sometimes you'll be more aware of what's being said and what's going on. And sometimes it's a mix of both, where you're like daydreaming, thinking about whatever, and then you come back, you're hearing Michael talk, and then you'll go back under. It's like up and down, and it feels like you're kind of taking a nap somewhat. But you're very relaxed and you're just taking it all in, or completely somewhere else. But when you come back in, you're like very relaxed. You feel really good. And then, yeah.
Cool, good. And I'll go into a little explanation of that. So what happens is, as the brain starts relaxing and all the chemicals begin to slow down and the mind and the thought starts relaxing, the body has to follow because it's connected, right? Everything starts as a thought process in your head. Everything. Now the body follows through with the emotion or sensation or movement of what needs to happen based on the process of what the brain is thinking and feeling, and the chemicals are running through your body. You don't feel pain in your leg, you feel pain in your brain, because your brain is acknowledging that there's pain in the leg. So when you're going in and out, it's because you're hitting that REM state and you're trying to go into sleep. But what happens is I'm not letting you sleep because I'm constantly talking to you and I'm reprogramming the behavior pattern or what you have already pre-talked to me about what you want. The times that you hear me and you come back up is because your brain is saying, oh yeah, I can see that. I really want to do that. Or it could be a blimping moment of something that your brain has to like let go or discharge in order for you to be able to deal with it, to overcome whatever's holding you back or whatever you're working on changing. So that was a lot of what was happening with that. So, and I know there's times that you don't remember anything. Did you have a lot of time distortion? Because that's something that my clients do seem to have, is that they will give me time distortions. Do you remember what some of those were and what were they?
I feel like sometimes I would be so and I wouldn't know, like, are we like an hour in or is it just like a 15-minute deal right now? Like I wouldn't know until I like am up and I look at my phone and see
Sure.
like how far. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that for clients. I used to. It was really funny because there's sometimes I would get clients, it was their third session. I'd be like, "Are we done? Did you hypnotize me?" And this was so funny because like, yeah, and they'd look at the clock and they'd be like really confused. I mean, they would have really, really confused processes because they felt like it had gone like that. Then I have other times where a client will say, "Oh my God, I'm enjoying this dream," and he just won't shut up. I keep hearing him come into my unconscious mind, and I just wish he'd shut up and let me relax. So it's different for each individual. It's really cool. But being a therapist, I watch for that. I see all that, and then I can formulate those suggestions and move around those suggestions. So we worked on the depression, and then COVID hit, and then you ended up having to come home, right?
Yeah, I moved back home.
And let's talk about that. How was that for you? So we're in the middle of all this, and then you have to come back home, and then I continued working with you. One
Yeah.
with the sport, but also really with the educational side. Because let's talk to them a little bit about what the difference was between school and home, and how. Let's talk about the anchoring of the desk and everything, and then kind of I'll let you
Yeah.
tell that story.
So even when I normally would be at school, I was never one to do schoolwork at home. I'd always have to take myself elsewhere to the library, different spots on campus to even get work done. So I knew coming home, I had a whole nother quarter to finish out, and I had finals week 2. At home during COVID, I knew it was going to be a big challenge for me to be able to do well in my classes. Um, so just the thought of having to focus at home with my parents around, in the middle of the pandemic, with everything going on, and like having like my phone during classes to be able to freely look at that, like making sure I show up to my classes and staying organized and on top of things when I'm in the furthest thing from like the academic setting that I've been used to for the past year and a half. So I asked Michael to really help me with so I could be successful this past quarter.
You're freezing a little bit on me. I'm losing a little bit. So
Sorry.
there you go. You're back.
Okay. Where did it cut out?
It cut out. Go ahead and explain it again. I don't know really what they heard. So start about just start about when you got home, and then what happened when you got home, about what was happening with you studying.
So I was really concerned about um, coming home and being able to do my work efficiently, and do what I needed to get done to get the proper grades. And it's really hard for me to focus anywhere except like in a library or like specific study spot. So being at home in my room where I don't really have like an office space or anything is a big concern for me. Um, when I was taking 4 classes the past quarter, and I had to do all of them and get the best grades possible during this time. So that was a big concern.
How did you do with you now? Now everything went online, right? So I mean, how did you do with the online? Was that difficult for you, or did you find that to be? I have some students that hate it. I have others that are like, I would like to never go back to school. So I mean, it's interesting how it's different. I've got a lot of different stories with different kids. So
So I don't mind the online as much. Like I like being able to just work at classes at my own time. But when you're taking 4 college level classes, it's kind of scary. Like, am I all over the place? That was the main stressor of just being able to complete everything. And then now I have all my classes are online for next quarter as well. So now I've
okay,
practiced the quarter and perfected. So
and with that, so I anchored you to your desk. I ended up anchoring you to sitting at that desk, and this was a place where you would come in. And once you sat at that desk, it was a place for you to be able to, one, take your time and do your best, better than you did over there, because now you had additional time. You had time you could play with. Um, how did your grades change when I started working with you, and how did you feel once we started getting that homeschooling process going?
Um, I was, I feel like we worked a lot on my organization and my time management, getting a schedule worked in during the time where you like at home during the pandemic, where you wouldn't have anyone to tell you where to be, what to do at what time. So just really setting in that schedule in my brain, and I would get those checked off, and then another focus was being efficient when I did work. Like I didn't want to spend like hours that weren't necessary on certain things. So got me to work much more efficiently in the scheduled time slots that I don't think I would have been able to do otherwise.
Good, good. I'm glad I was able to do that. So good. All right, cool. And you came up with it with a understanding of what you want to do after school, which I thought was really cool. And I want to inject that a little bit. It's interesting that so hypnosis really gets you working internal. It really goes into the underlying level of your unconscious behavior because you hear the saying, that cliche of like everybody really knows what everybody wants deep inside. Well, the thing is, you really do. Your unconscious mind really understands what it really wants inside. There's two motivations that change people's perspective, and that make people make change, and that's pain and pleasure. If you can't have pleasure in something you're doing, it becomes painful, and you'll avoid it. And that goes for education as well. Okay. Once you can get the pleasure zones to click into play, you'll start to be able to excel in anything that you do. Whether that's a sport, whether that's education, whether that's you're getting stuck at a creativity and you can't write your next novel, or you can't paint your next painting. All of that is just hindering on the unconscious mind, finding that it's difficult to start something in a pleasure zone. So in hypnosis, I'm getting you to have that pleasure zone for you, seeing that now I'm organized, I get stuff done, and you probably remember this because it'll click back into your head, but now I'm organized, I get more done. Now that I get more done, I have more free time, and in my free time, I can do something else. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of times I will say things because I remember our sessions very well. I could do 100 sessions with you, and I'll remember everything I program you with. I'll always remember how I did it and what I placed. It just happens naturally for me. But I had placed in there that you would get the pleasure, because now your pleasure was freedom to have X amount of time to now I'll actually go into something else. And the unconscious mind naturally goes in and it starts pulling in things that you want. And today you came in, or this morning you came to me, and we talked a little bit about how you decided what you want to do. And I'd love people to maybe, I don't know if you have a understand. I'd love to get them back to you, in touch with you once you do start working on your career, even if it's say a year from now, and you're now pumping it out and pushing it and helping businesses grow. I'd love to keep as a contact and as a referral, if you don't mind, and get our people, and as well as referring you to companies that I business coach, because I do a lot of business coaching, getting the brick and mortar to go online. So share with us a little bit about what your epiphany was.
Yeah, so basically, I am an international business major at UCSD, and I just finished up my second year, but I worked out I'm going to graduate next year. No idea what I want to do with that. It's so broad, like there's so many different things you can get into. And then I've been like, with my free time that I've gotten during all of this, I've been like looking and seeing into things, and I decided I'm going to go into a short data science program after I graduate, hopefully, where I'll learn how to code different business programs, and more specifically like for data analytics for business, like the business side of things, so I can integrate or gain the new skills for the programming, coding, and whatnot, and then integrating my education at UCSC with the business, like marketing and general scheme. So
Perfect.
figured that
And
one out.
I have companies for you already. We have companies that are they have never been outside of brick and mortar, and they're failing right now. They're having a really rough time, and they just don't. They're not. They don't understand how data works. They don't understand how it is that they have to be able to. They grow based on what they're doing, right? And right now, the online formula is everything. And if you know the online formula, you can grow your company without brick and mortar. I mean, Amazon was failing at the very beginning. They were losing everything. They were going down a sinkhole, and they pushed and pushed. They started learning their data. They started understanding how the online services work, how they marketed themselves, and look at who they are now. You know, you will be able to do that, and that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Um, would you recommend Deeper States Mind and Wellness? Would you utilize this program? And what do you think your key benefits are? And what would you highlight the most of?
Um, so I think the main thing I got out of it was I felt just a general better, like being more with like level headed, if that makes sense, because my anxiety really um, would push my brain in all sorts of directions that weren't helping me or serving me in any ways. So in school and in water polo, I was able to just be able to put my head to the grindstone more and worry more about the things I can control. And I gained a lot more confidence from it doing this. And I just felt like overall just a general better sense of well-being from all my
Good,
sessions.
good. And hopefully you have some tools that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And that's one thing we really want to do is, and that's the one thing is that I'll tell you with the anxiety and depression, once you do it in a hypnotic way, because we're going to the unconscious mind, we're working with the neurological plasticity of the brain, and the brain changes every day, right? I mean, our brain has plasticity every single day. It changes something it doesn't like. You go on a bad date and you're like, oh my God, that was horrible. He's a freak, right? Your brain's not going to say, oh my God, I'm going to give it 4 more chances. It makes a change that quick. And with depression and anxiety, it's not a pleasurable feeling. Most of the time, the client doesn't understand why that's even happening. So, would you recommend Deeper States Mind and Wellness? Would you recommend the program, and would you recommend people to utilize it to advance themselves in their lives? And I mean, you had an overall experience. A lot of times clients will come to me and we work only with their sport. I mean, because we're taking it to the highest level. I mean, I'm dealing with elite athletes or Olympic and junior Olympic athletes. So when you came to me, it was like, we got you better. And then boom, your whole situation changed. You ended up home. So my whole situation changed. I ended up at home. So did those tools help you cope, and are they tools you'll continue to feel like they just pop into place?
Absolutely. Um, I think it helped me create better habits too. And the way I like think about things, think about challenges, whether it be sports or academics or coming home and dealing with that, I just am able to do so much better and keep myself feeling good, even when things are
Good,
not
good.
ideal,
And
just keeping my head on my shoulders.
correct. And it really does get your brain to reframe. It teaches you how to reframe emotions. And that's the biggest thing is that people will get into this emotional dialogue. And the more they think of the emotional dialogue, the more their brain starts reacting physically by the dialogue they're programming their mind with. So it is something you definitely will carry with you for the rest of your life. They say that once you've been hypnotized, you just can't, you crave it because the process is most people in the world do not take 20 minutes a day or even 30 minutes a day or an hour a day to just sit and meditate and go into that deep inner self and make change for themselves. Hypnosis and NLP force that to happen because you can be in class and be bored to death. That's hypnosis. Or you can be excited on a roller coaster and go into the moment of screaming so loud that you forget, oh my God, you're now focusing on screaming, you're not focusing on the person next to you. That's hypnosis as well. So it's directing the emotion and the changes through the hypnotic mind and getting in the unconscious behavior. I'm going to put up our contact information on the screen. And we are taking clients now. I wasn't for a long, long time. We had been so full that nothing had been happening and we weren't seeing anybody at the time. Um, Matter of fact, for a long time, I was only taking referrals. And I think, Maddie, you came in during that period, did you not? Yeah. So we were not taking anybody. I am taking people now. And of course, I'm taking people only online. I am not seeing live people. Um, we may go back into an office setting again. I don't know what's going to happen with that because this works really well. And a lot of my clients like it because they're not having to drive to see me. Maddie had the experience both. I mean, you went in one time. What would you prefer? And what worked better for you? Having to drive out to the office, especially because you were in San Diego. But if you were here, what would have been? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I having this mixed process from clients. Some people love it, some people don't. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I love not getting in my car and having to come to you. Others are like, oh, I want that personal contact. What was your experience with that, and what would you recommend on that?
I really enjoyed the online just because I was able to get so used to it so quick, and it was so convenient for me with the limited schedule that I had. I could just come home from practice and hop on, and then get up and go to class, which is exactly what I needed. Like I didn't have the time to be able to drive somewhere, even if I was still here. It's definitely fit in with like class schedule and everything to be able to just hop online
Sure,
and
it's easy.
yeah.
And we may stay that way. Maddie, you have a fan. I want to try to get her on the screen. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, it's my friend.
Hey, cool. Does she have any questions for you? She wants to put some questions up. We can take some questions from her. Um, is that the friend you gave the link to? How'd she find us?
I told her the Facebook page information.
Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of my adults can't find our Facebook page. So, and like I was telling Maddie, the replay is going to get quite a few people. So we really just go through this, and really it's informative. This will go on Instagram also, Maddie. So, if you want to send them into the replay on Instagram, you can do that as well later on. But anyway, I want to thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. You're an awesome person. I mean, out of everybody I've been working with through this whole COVID thing, I mean, you have got potential that's limitless and you're unlimited as a human being. I really do believe you're going to go really, really far. And even once our program is completed, I want to stay in touch with you. And like I said, I'd love to have you as a business asset. So that as you start evolving into your career, that we can start working with these companies, and really they need that part of their business to grow, and a lot of them don't even have the understanding of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I am you're awesome. I can't say enough about you. I really can't. It was my honor to work with you, and it was my honor to meet you. So I thank you so much.
Thank you. I
And
definitely would not our sessions.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And if there's any questions that you guys have, let me know, Maddie. Just put them in the comment box. A lot of you are going to see this on replay. We usually get about 50 to 60 some replay people as we move through it, because it goes onto all the social media platforms for us. If we have questions for Maddie, leave them down below. I'll actually make sure she gets them, and we'll get a genuine answer back from Maddie, not from me. So, so that way it's coming from her and not from me. So anyway, Maddie, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and I think I'm seeing you tomorrow or the day after. So tomorrow, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And okay, perfect. And to your friend, thank you so much for being here. You can say hi to her. And let's see. So perfect, Maddie. So we're going to try to close this out. If anybody wants to reach out to us, if everybody's ready to actually do a program with us, you guys can go ahead and I'll put this back up here real quick. You can reach out to us at deeperstate.com. Really, if you want to work with me, the best way to get a hold of me is call me at 562-426-6884, hit 1. That's going to put you into my home office at this moment. If you want to sign up right now, normally we do a a strategy call, which is $85. We will comp out that strategy call and just do it for free. With everything going on, I'm really working more on just reaching out and helping people and changing people's lives right now as we move through this. And I don't know what our long-term changes are going to be, but know that each one of you and every one of you has something inside of you that will continue growing, and each one of you as you go out in the world, and especially Maddie and your friend. I don't know how old she is, if she's ready to graduate or close to graduation. I know that it feels sometimes that you get up in the morning and you feel like, oh my God, what the hell's going on outside my door? Especially if you graduated this year, it's like, what is happening to my life? What's going to happen to my career? I have all these plans and I'm stuck. I do believe that we are going to be evolving back into that again, and life will be different. And if we can adjust and we can mold to changes, those are the people that succeed, right? I mean, you did that, Maddie. You've succeeded, you molded to be able to make it happen from home, right? So, all right, Maddie, thank you so much. I'm going to end this with everybody, and then you want to stay on with me, we'll talk a little bit longer. So, all right, thank you, Maddie. I appreciate everything, everybody, and anybody who's online. If you guys have any questions, I can't see who's on here. I can only see when they pop in with a question or with a comment. So let's give them a second. If anybody is on here, I don't want to, I have actually just cut people off and they're like, oh my God, I commented to you and you were already gone. So I'll give you guys like 2-3 minutes as I babble. And if something pops up, I'll have Maddie either address it or I'll address it. Otherwise, we will let you guys go. And thank you guys for joining us on Facebook. We do have a new candle line coming out and soap line. We've always had a soap line, but we have a candle line coming out. All homemade Bath and Body Works. That's over at Deep Forest Cove. I had to think about that because that's a whole new branding process we're going through. But it's called Deep Forest Cove. You can find us on Facebook. And the candles are going to be starting. They're going to start making them. I'm going to start making them. They're all homemade. Everything's homemade here in Long Beach. But I'm going to start making hopefully in the next couple weeks or so. So, alrighty, we don't have anything coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and end this, Maddie. You're going to stay on with me, okay? Again, thank you for your time.